Good morning, this is Mary Tressel, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today on turbocharging your sales team with a new sales and marketing dashboard. First, I'd like to walk you through using your webinar pane. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little box with an orange arrow. To maximize that box, click the orange arrow, and you can, at any time throughout the webinar, enter a question for our staff, and we will answer those questions at the end of the webinar as time allows. Make sure you hit the send button so that we do receive that question on our end. And then our next step is for you to make sure that your audio settings are set as the best. So if you've called in on a telephone, please select the telephone button. If you're using your computer mic and speakers, please use that. If the audio is selected incorrectly, you will get an echo sound. And with that, I want to introduce our presenter this morning. It is John Horner. He's a partner and leader of our business intelligence practice here at Armanino. He spent 10 years in industry working in BI and then has now gotten 10 more years in consulting experience. And he applies best practice industry knowledge to data warehouse and BI implementations for a variety of industries. Armanino's clients include retail and distribution, consumer product goods, high-tech manufacturing, professional services, and utilities industries. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, John.
All right, thanks, Mary. Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to walk through our CRM Sales Pipeline. So I'll give you a bit of an overview here. We'll introduce you to Armanino's BI solutions. We have a kind of general suite of solutions for BI, of which this is one of them. We'll walk you through a little bit around CRM and the sales and marketing process, but more from a reporting and analytics perspective. I'll give you a bit of a view of the architecture of how this solution is put together. We'll share with you some of the common questions that are answered with this application. Some of the common KPIs and measures that we are looking at and working with, and then we'll dive into a solution demo. And I think we've kind of run a similar webinar a few months ago here, and perhaps didn't have enough time for the demo, so we've made a little bit more time available. Hopefully we can do a deeper dive today. So first of all, let me just introduce Armanino and what we do from a business intelligence solution perspective. We really categorize these solutions into three distinct areas, although there is some overlap between the suite of solutions. So one is we are looking to build industry-specific solutions, whether you be in high-tech, whether you be in retail, consumer product goods, whatever industry you're in, we look to put together some solutions that suit your needs in your particular industry, specific to you. Secondly, we might be looking at your particular functional area. So oftentimes we are looking at finance-based solutions for the finance folks that we work with here at Armanino. In this particular case, the solution that we'll share with you today is very much a line of business solution, but more for sales management and marketing within your organization. So it's very much an example of a line of business solution. And then finally, we have solutions that are built on existing systems that you may own. And so actually the solution today, when I said that there was some overlap, this solution also is heavily integrated with existing systems that you may have. So for instance, we've built this solution on top of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So if you are a sales manager, VP of sales, and you are using Microsoft Dynamics as your CRM, then this is a kind of perfect fit for you, if you like. So it covers a couple of those solution areas. Now, in terms of some of the examples of the solutions that we have a package, a suite, if you like, called Dynamic Insights. That is our business intelligence solutions for the Microsoft Dynamics ERP and CRM environment. So partly this is what we cover today, but this is just one aspect of that suite. We also offer kind of executive sales from an ERP perspective, finance-based reporting and analytical capabilities for if you have Microsoft Dynamics AX or NAV. We offer a practice insights solution for other companies that are in our particular industry. So CPA and consulting organizations, practice insights is a solution that we use internally that also fits the broader industry perspective. We've built specific solutions around the CFO organization and KPIs specific to finance. And we also have, one of our industry solutions, which also falls under the Dynamic Insights suite, is our bookings, billings, and backlog solution particularly for the high-tech business, but it can also be applicable to certain other industries as well. But today we're going to focus on the CRM Sales and Marketing Insights and walk you through that. So let's give you a little bit of detail as to what we're trying to achieve with this solution, what are the areas that it looks at. This particular app that we are going to demonstrate and walk you through today really looks at sales and marketing from a perspective of pipeline. So whilst you are selling something to your customers, prospects, and it will kind of get you to the point at which a sale is completed and considered closed won from a CRM perspective. So that's what we'll kind of demonstrate today. One of the aspects that one of the other parts of the solution that we have is more of an ERP-based sales application, which is very similar, if you like, but it's after a sale has closed one in your CRM system, then typically it is then entered, or perhaps the data is integrated automatically into your ERP system, and at that point it becomes a real booking, if you like, within your ERP system. And so one of the things that we will look to do on a future webinar is kind of show a 360 view, if you like, of not only your pipeline and what you are selling to your customers at the moment, but also what have you sold to your customers after the event. So you get that real 360 view. But for today's session, we're going to focus on the kind of sales pipeline, CRM, marketing aspect, and we're going to cover, you can see the areas on the right hand side here of what we're trying to build into this solution. Customer segmentation, campaign performance. We'll cover, we're not probably going to have time enough to cover everything in here today, but we will cover sales performance to plan, sales forecasting, opportunity pipeline analysis, the growth of that pipeline over the course of time. We'll look at some particular areas of interest around data management and how do we within our BI application help keep our data clean and up to date, so that we know that the analytics and the reporting that we are doing is as accurate as it can be within a CRM system. And we also, we didn't quite focus it here, but we've just made some recent changes to the campaign performance aspect, and we'll share a little bit of that with you today, hot off the press. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction as to who this would be relevant to, here, really anybody from a sales or marketing perspective, anyone in sales management, marketing management, but I think also still applicable to finance and the C-level suite in general. Finance, of course, is looking after the numbers, and it's an important aspect of that is understanding what the future is, and CRM and your sales pipeline is the best leading indicator of where you might be headed from an ERP sales perspective and what your results might be. It doesn't always tell you 100% of what you might want, but it is certainly the best leading indicator you have. So it's important for finance as well as sales and marketing to understand that and have a single vision of the truth there. The application that we'll be sharing is actually something we use internally here at Armanino. So we've configured it to work with kind of seamlessly with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. But it could also easily be ported to Salesforce, for instance, which is another CRM system that we support and work with here at Armanino. So it is easy to port over, but specifically if you have Microsoft Dynamics CRM, then it can work with minimal customization out of the box here. Okay, so I'm going to walk through a little bit of the process, not really the entire kind of CRM process, if you like, but more the process of how have we put this solution together, what are some of the mechanics behind the scenes. And so, first of all, we start off in the kind of top area of this diagram with Microsoft Dynamics CRM or Salesforce or whatever your CRM system of record is, and we are connecting in our solution into those environments and pulling in the data that we need. In this case, I've shown some examples here. We've got account details of your accounts, your contacts, the opportunities, the products and services that you might offer, the leads that are coming in more from a marketing side, and some of the activities that might be associated with those leads. So that should give you a bit of an idea of the flavor of the data that we are connecting into from a CRM perspective. We are also kind of taking snapshots of those solutions. So one of the things when you work in Salesforce or Dynamics CRM is that it's kind of a twinkling database, if you like. If somebody goes in there and makes a change, then you will only be able to see the latest view of the world. If someone changes the value of an opportunity or the probability of an opportunity or the various things like that, then you're only going to kind of see the current version of the truth. There may be some kind of behind the scenes audit log trails of some of these changes, but it's really not visible to the user or the community that might want to analyze those changes and consider those changes. And so what we are doing is actually capturing snapshots of these systems on a nightly basis. And so from that perspective, we always have a current view of what the CRM system is. But we also have a monthly and weekly view of what the CRM system was at certain different points in time, which then allows us to really look at some specific areas around pipeline progression. How has my pipeline changed, not just with new opportunities, but with existing opportunities that are spanning across a wider timeline? How have they changed? Has the amount changed over time? Has the probability changed over time? Have we changed different pieces to that? So this kind of capturing the snapshot and capturing the data is important to be able to do that analysis if that's an area you want to head to. We're then kind of storing that snapshot and capturing that into a kind of CRM sales and marketing data mart. That then enables us to build the interactive dashboards and the self-service visualizations and the ad hoc search and query capabilities that we will share with you, some of which we'll share with you today. That obviously can be accessed by your user community, whether it's sales, marketing, finance, executive level, all of those parts of your business that need to get some kind of visibility to different aspects of this application, and whether they're using mobile devices, laptops, phones, iPads, Surfaces, desktops, and whether they're coming in through a browser or through email or Excel. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a bit of a high level of some of the architecture, how it's put together, some of what we're trying to achieve, and some of the challenges that we've kind of faced in putting this together. So some of the common questions that you might see answered within these applications: which sales teams and/or sales reps are meeting their quota or falling behind their quota? How much business have we closed already this year? What are our forecast sales for this month or this quarter? What is the potential for upside on that forecast? How many new leads and opportunities are we generating? and what campaigns are producing the most leads activities. In terms of some of the KPIs, kind of common key performance indicators that we are looking at here, we've got a few different things: number of open leads and also the dollar amount associated with those, open opportunities, closed won opportunities, what have you closed lost, opportunities that you have forecasted, new leads generated, new opportunities created, some of the ratios, percentage closed won, what's your closed won versus quota, and the percentage to quota or remaining quota, average days to close a deal, average days in pipeline for deals that haven't closed yet, and the average days from lead to opportunity, and along with the average deal size. These are kind of common key performance indicators in this for this kind of line of business application, and really we're trying to integrate all of these different measures and KPIs to enable sales management and indeed the sales reps themselves to get a better understanding of what is going on in their sales cycles and how they can then measure themselves against some of these key performance indicators to improve and get better in this area. Okay, so let's flip to a demo area here and start to walk through the application. So I'm going to jump into my web browser here. I'm using Internet Explorer, but it wouldn't really matter whether you're on Chrome or Safari or whatever web browser is your preference. And this brings up a kind of homepage, if you like, of all of the applications that I have at my disposal. Again, I mentioned this is an internal application that we use here in Armanino, and so you've got an idea of some of the other applications that we've got available to us. And you can imagine that you might have different ones for CRM sales, your ERP environment, different areas of your business. I'm going to go into, in this case, we're going to look specifically at the Armanino CRM Sales Pipeline. I've already got that open, so we'll flip to that to save the time of opening that. And you can see that we have now a multi-sheet environment that I can walk through. And remember, this could be me as a sales manager. It could be me as a salesperson. It could be you as a finance guy, but you can kind of walk through this and start to consume this. And I can tell you that this is an application, certainly in my team. I'm actually going to focus on our team, although I've tried to protect the innocent a little bit with some of the data in here and cleaned it all up. And so you might see some jumbled client names and prospect names, but this is essentially coming from the application that we use in our team every week. We have a weekly sales call every Tuesday, and I'm going to try and walk you through as best I can what we typically focus on a Tuesday, and hopefully that'll give you some ideas for what you might do. So let's start off on the sales performance sheet. So this is a good area to start. We're going to look at the actual versus quota. So in this example, we have a chart in the top left area here that tells me what my quota is and what we are doing. Again, don't worry too much about the numbers. I jumbled them up and used some random number generators, and it hasn't been very favorable to us, so we look as though we're well behind quota here, so don't worry too much about that. But this gives you an idea of, okay, where are we at from a closed won perspective against the quota? Where are we at from if we were able to bring in what we also have forecast from a sales quota? And what is the upside? What's the best case scenario of where I can end up? So you can see that we're, according to these numbers, we're not favoring too well. Perhaps we need to look at the timeline. Okay, well, let's look now then at January through September. That might make a little bit of a change. That's the actual number. So that changes things a little bit, gives me an idea. and maybe I want to look at add on October, so I can come back in here and change the timeline again. So now I'm looking at a slightly different timeline. My quota went down, my actuals stayed the same because of course we haven't finished these months yet, but it gives you an idea how time can affect this. We can also look at this as a percentage of quota. So again, we can look at the actual numbers or just the percentages of how we are doing against quota in these periods. We also have some key indicators at the top of the page here. How much have we closed one? How much is our quota? Again, the attainment percentage, what's the gap, what do I need to sell, how many deals have we closed one, what's the average deal size, and what's the average days to close. Okay, so in this case, we've already, behind the scenes, I've kind of already made a selection. I made it before the session here, but I can kind of show you what filters we have in place. But we are looking at, actually, let me just close that down so the only selection I have is the timeline here. If I go ahead and click the bookmark here for 2015 BI product and service opportunities, that will apply some selections. Now, it doesn't apply too many, but what it does is it applies this product group business intelligence, and that's just the group that I kind of head up here. That's what I'm interested in. You know, somebody in the cloud team would look at a different product group, someone in the Dynamics team would look at a different product group, and so on. And I'm only interested in opportunities that have either an actual close date or an estimated close date in 2015. So it means my focus is very much on this year. So that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. You can see from that, once I kind of made that selection, I have this sales team. So we have different areas of the organization. The primary contributor to our group is our own group. So the business intelligence sales team is by far and away has the biggest part of the quota. But I do have other areas of the business, our client management team, our Dynamics team, our cloud team, have small contributing factors. They have guys out there selling to our customers, and so oftentimes they'll come up with business intelligence opportunities. So again, you could imagine your own kind of sales hierarchy within your own organization will be slightly different to this, but it's the same principle. Now, if I want to kind of change this view and look at it from an actual rep perspective, then again, I can start to see some of the quotas related to some of the reps that we have in our organization, and we can start to analyze their performance against quota and what the gap is for each of them, and what can we do if they bring in what they've committed to and what the upside is. So we get the analysis down to the team and also down to the particular sales rep, and also down to the particular product group. So for instance, if we've only got one kind of product group within this list because I've already made the selection on product group, but you could imagine that your company might have various different product groups within that space. So that should give you an idea. It also gives you an idea of the trend further down, right? So we can see what we are winning by month here, and what the quota was is the line. So we can see where we've had good months, bad months, and we can also begin to look at what the future looks like. What's our outlook for the next 3 months as we look to bring in the year here. So this is useful to kind of see where we're at. And then on the just to the right of that, we have this kind of indicator of what is our, and if I focus on Q4 here, what do we look like from a quota and a 2x quota and a 3x quota? What does our pipeline look like? And so in here we have kind of commit, upside, and pipeline, and to what extent can that pipeline meet our quota? What are the options there? So this is a fairly common analytic that a lot of people would consider, that in order to meet my quota, my pipeline needs to be 2x or 3x what my quota is. So you can see that we have a pipeline that is close to 2x, but is not close to 3x in this example. So again, gives you a useful bit of analysis. And as I drilled in there, you can see that I'm kind of focusing in, drilling into selections, the application changes. I can simply clear out my selections, turn myself back to the default, and then I'm going to select my business intelligence product group again. And finally, on this particular page down the bottom here, we have a trend table of the kind of quarterly and monthly view of certain metrics, and I can maximize this for you just to bring it into focus. Again, time periods, what was our quarter, what was the closed one, percent to quarter, and then the gap. So it's really a tabular view of the chart that we had. Let me just unpin this and move this around somewhere. Excuse me. All right, so that's sales performance. So that's where we start. We can talk to the guys about how we're doing on the year, how they're doing as a team, how they're doing as individuals, where are they at. We can then move on to looking at, okay, what's our forecast then for what are we looking at? And this, of course, will, we look a little bit at what we have closed won, but also what we've got from an open commit perspective and an open upside perspective. So if we want to focus on our, what we call commit, or some people call forecast, if you like, then we can look at those opportunities and focus in on a particular period. Okay, so we're in October, so let's focus on October. I'm interested in the small number of opportunities that we have in our list that we can really focus on bringing in this particular month. And so now we have a table below that gives us really everything we need to know about those opportunities. We can walk through them by rep, and each rep can kind of talk to what stage we're at in the opportunity. What about, how confident do we feel with this probability? When do we expect it to close? What are some of the amounts associated with it, whether it be software or services or various different things. So this gives you an idea. It also gives you an idea of how many days has it been in the pipeline, how long have we had that opportunity, which of course comes from the created date here. So we're able now in our management meetings, weekly meetings, to use this application to really delve deep and get a very good picture of starting from a very high level but ending up at a detailed level where we can have frank and open discussions about the opportunities and perhaps the products and associated products that we might have within those opportunities. So if we wanted to focus on a particular opportunity, we can talk about the opportunity in great detail within this application. Okay, so that's kind of what we use, how we use the forecast side. Again, key performance indicators up here. We can look at this for different time periods. Very easy to kind of come in and make selections. So I'm going to reselect the group again, and I'm now going to move on to our opportunity pipeline tab. So this, what we're looking at here now is things that are perhaps less probable in our pipeline. Perhaps they're early stages of our pipeline. We haven't quite, maybe the prospect only just reached out to us, and we're beginning the process of talking to them and discovering what they would like to do and so forth. But this gives us a good idea now of what have we got in our pipeline in total, what are considered leads. In other words, it's really just, we haven't got any engagement going other than the customers perhaps raise their hand as genuinely interested. And I can now see these different stages that they might be at and how many opportunities we have in those stages, and what any amounts or average deal size or days to close might be. And so if I wanted to focus on certain opportunities and consider whether or not we can bubble these up into things that can be brought forward into this year or this month or this quarter. Again, very easy for us now to have the conversation on each of these opportunities and walk through the details of those specific opportunities. I'm going to hit the back button here, which essentially effectively kind of changes, goes back to the selections that you had previously. Again, just a reminder, we can always kind of hit this current selections view just to see what perspective we're working in. So we're looking at the product group business intelligence still in the close year 2015. So all the while we can always kind of check on the context. And if we wanted to really dig deeper in here, we have the capability to come in and do some additional filters. So for that, I'm going to move on to our total pipeline sheet. Now, really this sheet is the same as the two that I just shared with you, sales forecast opportunity pipeline, but it merges together all of them into one sheet. And it gives me a little bit more flexibility on our calls to do a little bit deeper dive analysis on what we're looking at. So perhaps what I want to do is I've already got my product group business intelligence selected, but maybe what I want to do is go and pick a different product or a specific product from that group. So if I come into my filters section here, I can now look at all of the possible fields and data sets that are within my data set here and look to filter this a little bit differently. So for instance, I can come in and start to filter out, okay, what opportunities do I have for ClickView, for instance? As I make that selection now applies to this particular dashboard. So we're now looking at the ClickView only based opportunity pipeline. So real easy to come in and make different selections, put those together. If I want to combine some, then I can do that as well. If I want to look at ClickView and ClickSense, then I simply select them both. Now I come back and the results, if you like, will be a reflection of those two selections in here. Again, we've got the details, we've got the product details, so we can kind of see for each opportunity which one is it. Is it ClickView? Is it ClickSense? What does our pipeline look like? And maybe we want to look at this from a pure commit and upside perspective. Okay, so now I'm zeroing in a little bit on the, again, same thing that we looked at before, a little different way to get at it, but we've got it filtered a little differently. Very easy to get at, very easy to kind of do that analysis. And if I want to clear out that selection, maybe I want to clear out this product service group, I can simply come into the selections page here and just kind of select this little eraser there and change this out. And again, I can select the forecast stage, for instance, and clear that out and get back to the position, the selections that I was at in the first place. Now, if I wanted to actually go and analyze by product service name, then I can go and do that as well. Okay, so I can look at how my products are distributed, and perhaps I want to look at that in terms of the number of opportunities. So I'm going to sort by the number of opportunities. Now I can see what my distribution is from a product or service line perspective within these opportunities. And you know, you may be interested at the moment, we're still looking at the entire pipeline, of course, but if I wanted to come in and just look at the closed one, for instance, then I can look at closed one. Now I'm looking at everything that we've won and what is the distribution of the products that we are winning engagements, either software or services or whatever it might be. So again, easy to imagine, hopefully your own company and your own products and services within this mix, and see how you could how that could just slot into this kind of pre-built view of what we're looking at here. Okay, so let's reset the filters again. Hopefully one of the things you notice is that as I get to my context, whatever it might be that I want to get to, whatever view I'm considering and looking at here, as I move between the sheets, that context remains. And so as I pick a particular area, if I want to look at my, let's look at the product services again, or maybe I want to look at filter out John Brooks here as one of my sales reps and filter him out. As I move between sales forecast or sales performance, that particular data set kind of remains in play. So I think I've overridden it in that sheet actually. But in the total pipelines, I move between these, then it keeps that kind of context for you so you know what you're looking at. So very easy to select and reselect in any case, but it kind of keeps the context for you in its natural state. You can override that and choose to do something different, but it's very helpful that it kind of travels with you. So that gives you, really that looks at, that's where we kind of spend the bulk of our time in our meetings, looking at, how are we performing, what the forecast is, what does our pipeline look like. And that's where we spend the bulk of our time. However, there are some other areas that I think are important to look at. So one of the things that perhaps I spend a bit more time on than my team necessarily does is looking at the growth of our pipeline. So this now is looking at the entire pipeline and looking at new opportunities. So at the moment I just have this kind of current perspective selected. If I come in and select my bookmark again, so I'm just looking at our BI practice. Again, we'll just remind you of the filters. So it's the product group business intelligence and a close year of 2015, and that would be either an actual or an estimate. So now what we can look at is, okay, for everything that has that estimated close year, this is a trend of the created date, or the created month at least, and month and year of those opportunities. So you can see that, the vast majority, as you might imagine, have been created in 2015, some in December 2014 there. So most of what is in our pipeline we have created this year. However, there are small numbers of opportunities that were actually created in prior years and just took an awful long time to sell and to get into our pipeline, if you like. So there are things that are either have sold or are still in our pipeline that came from prior periods. And we can go and look at what those are. So if we filter on those time periods, let me pick the first 3 months here, then I can really narrow down to certain opportunities that clearly have been in our pipeline for an awful long time. Now, not to say that's not valid, maybe they are valid, maybe they're not valid, but we can actually begin to use Click now to look at cleaning some of this up. So 3 of these are closed lost, so that's okay, that's fine. They were created at a certain point in time and they were closed lost in 2015, as we can see here. However, there are still 2 open opportunities here that have been, that have been created a long time ago, and we could certainly start to have a discussion with those reps and whoever's involved and determine, should those really be closed lost? Are they really still going on? It seems like an awful long sales cycle, for instance. So you can get easy visibility to that kind of stuff from this page. Now, the other thing that you can kind of get from this page, I think, is a general direction of how you are trending. So for instance, if we decided to just look at perhaps the trailing 12 months, for instance, maybe we can exclude October 2015, we're not far in enough here yet, but now we get a bit of an idea of how many opportunities we are creating in general. What's the general trend? Is it fairly static over certain months? Is it seasonal? Is it perhaps is affiliated or associated with certain events that we run? All sorts of different things, but it does give you an idea of what we are creating, how much we're creating on a regular basis from a pipeline perspective. So again, you get that perspective. And we are splitting this up here, you notice, into the kind of different categories. The categories are based upon where does it stand currently. So it may have got created in these time periods, but this is a current status of the opportunity. And we can see this on not just as a chart, but as a table. So if you want to kind of flip this over, look at the numbers, and perhaps you resort the dates, so we're looking at most recent time periods, we can start to see the trend of that of what we were looking at from a tabular perspective as well. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how we can start to do some analytics on where we're at in terms of creating new opportunities. All right, so let's look a little bit at the lead funnel here, which is a slightly different view of the world. So in this particular view, we're kind of walking away a little bit from what I would call CRM Sales Pipeline and more into the kind of marketing funnel and the campaign aspect of what we're doing. So this is a kind of subset of data that we've taken from our CRM system. We have some campaigns, certain email campaigns that we run, and we have certain kind of tracks related to those email campaigns that we run. So in this page, that's what we're going to analyze. And really what we're looking for is, okay, for each of those campaigns or tracks, how many people have opened the email that we sent? How many people have actually clicked through on the email that we sent, and what are the related percentages, right? What's the percentage viewed versus the percentage versus the number of emails sent, and what's the percentage click through that we have? So we can see here that we have a lot of our kind of subject areas or campaign areas, so we can get an idea of campaign by campaign or track by track. How are we performing? And we can sort each of these. At the moment it's sorted on email viewed. We can sort it on email click-through, or we can sort it on the percentage viewed. So you've got the capability to kind of look at that in this space. We can also focus in on a particular campaign. Okay, so we might have a campaign that is, I know we have one specifically for our BI team here. So I'm going to focus in on that. I happen to know the name of the campaign or the kind of code that we use there. So I can go ahead and select that. And now I'm really focusing in on that particular campaign. When have we been running the campaign? When have people viewed the emails and opened the emails? Of course, this is only a fairly recent one, so we don't have a lot of data on the trend, if you like. But we can see per track how it's performing. It looks relatively consistent across the tracks in this case. We can see the number of emails that we've sent, the number of views that we have, the number of click-throughs, and the related percentages. And we can also see now all of the lead names and the contact names that we have from the different companies and organizations that we have in there. So gives you a good idea of some of the analytics and some of the capabilities that we now have to kind of look at some of this data. So finally, I want to look at just a couple of last areas here, probably 5 minutes close, and we'll move on to some questions. So one of the things that I mentioned in the lead up to this is that we have this, we capture snapshots of the CRM. Everything I've looked at today is looked at just simply the current CRM data. And that's fine because it serves, that is probably the 80% rule of what we're doing. However, there are instances and use cases, certainly within Armanino, and no doubt within your own organization, where we actually need to look at a slightly different view. And so if, for instance, I click on this monthly option here, I now have different snapshots available for me. So you can see that I have, we started capturing this data in June, so I have June, July, August, September, October, and I have the start of the month picture for each of those. So I can, for instance, go in and select all of those months, and now I can start to look at, so one of the particular reports we look at here is open opportunities. How has that changed over time? That is not something that you can get from your CRM system. However, by capturing the snapshots, we can begin to see that the number of open opportunities across time and how that's changed in June, July, August, September. We can see the services amount associated with it, the software amount, the total amount. And we can see that by product service name. So we have now for our marketing folks a real good, and our executives and our practice leaders, a real good view for each of them, no matter what their product service name is, or whatever department they look after, a real good idea of how our CRM system has been changing, and therefore how we've been performing from a sales and marketing perspective. We can look at that same data, if you like, by sales stage. Where do we stand from a sales stage perspective? Or perhaps it's by the lead source. So one of the things that is important, so hopefully some of you attended our recent evolution event, and so we can look at our evolution event potentially within here. Here's evolution, we can capture that. We can look at the leads and opportunities associated, and of course the event was in September, so we've kind of only got data from October. So you can kind of focus in on these particular events and campaigns, if you like, and details to see how your open pipeline is. We have other areas where we look at closed opportunities. This is again looking at the closed months. So it gives you a good idea of how we can kind of use these snapshots to get a view of the data. We also have the ability to do weekly snapshots. So actually, if we go back to the open opportunities here, this can be by month, but it can also be by a weekly snapshot. And so within that view, you can see, again, we started capturing sometime in May, and so I can look at the entire set of weekly snapshots. So again, this gives me an even more granular level view of the same data. And some of our practice leaders are kind of using this, not necessarily this particular report, but using this as a mechanism to look at how are we doing this week versus last week, for instance. So to do that, this is showing all snapshots. We would simply go in and say, okay, well, what are the last 2 Mondays? This is a Monday view. What do we look like from a Monday to Monday perspective? What's changed in my pipeline? What happened? Have we got more open opportunities or less? Have we got a higher sales services amount or less? So these are some of the applications for this kind of usage of the snapshots, if you like. And then the final thing I want to touch on here is really relates to data management and how we can use this same application that we are in here to look to keep our pipeline clean. Okay, so one of the things that we might look at, for instance, is, okay, in my entire, if I again focus on the group that I have here, out of all the opportunities that I have listed here, do I have all the data that I need? So for instance, in the probability here, if I wish to sort this in descending order, I can look at those. I can check that we've got good quality data in there, but I can also look to see if we have any null data in there. So for instance, as we scroll to the bottom of this sheet, I can see that these opportunities all need a probability entry. There's not much point in me doing analytics on this if I don't have a probability. Now the reality is I would probably only choose the open ones. I don't really care too much about the probability of something I've either won or lost, albeit it can change your statistics, but I might just go and choose these. So to the extent that we can see this, it's visible. That's the first important thing, which of course within a CRM system you'd almost have to go into these individually to see, which nobody's going to really do that. But now I can see it. I can make those selections and simply click on the Excel button, open that in Excel, and now I've got something that I can go and send to my sales team and say, go and clean up these opportunities. We need a probability. Entering, otherwise what we're looking at is not a full kind of clean set of data, if you like. So I think I'll close it there. I've walked through quite a lot here. Hopefully you get a picture of what we look like from how we're using this application, both in sales and in marketing. And certainly this is an evolving application for us. Our marketing team has many other ideas for us. Our sales team has many other ideas for us. So this will be something that we'll likely do a webinar with you again in the near future here, perhaps in 2016, and just keep giving you an updated view of where this sits. And certainly one of the other things I should mention is, as we look to build this out, look for us to kind of combine this forward-looking pipeline view with a backward-looking, more ERP sales view, if you like.
Well, thank you, John. I think another thing, as I'm looking at it, and you talked about how this is important for the finance, sales, and marketing team to have a single version of the truth. Also, you have the unique role of being a practice leader and a sales manager. But if there's a sales manager for a group, they can inform the practice leaders of what's coming so that they can appropriately staff or bulk up on inventory, whatever is required. Is that right? So this dashboard could inform operations as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's designed to be used by a multitude of different people, really, whether it be the exec level who want to get perhaps high-level views of what this looks like, through to sales management who want to use it with their team to get a view. But absolutely, it can begin to be it's the best leading indicator of where you might be headed and what you might need to do from an operations perspective. So to the extent that you are doing really well from a sales perspective and selling more, then of course you're, certainly in our case where we're a services team and we need delivery capability, then the people in delivery would need to understand that might be coming down the pipeline, and therefore we need to be considering recruitment and staffing up to be able to deliver that work. So it's not too difficult to imagine other industries that are going to have a slight variation of that same operational concern.
Great. Well, thank you, John, for a great presentation, and we thank our audience for joining us today. John's contact information is here on the last slide. Please reach out to him directly if you would like a personalized demo of our dashboard, and thank you for joining us today.